one of the intentions with the Kirk Miller Podcast is to bring on fascinating guests who have not only a powerful story, but can add value to the listeners who consistently listen to this show, whether it's around entrepreneurship, business, health, basically high performance. And the man who is sat opposite me today, I can safely say, ticks a hell of a lot of those boxes. And I'm sure, as will impact today, mate, has had a very eventful life in more ways than one. But above all else, mate, you're 50, right?
50, yeah.
50, got 3 kids.
3 children, yeah. That I know of.
Yeah, multiple businesses. But for anyone who hasn't seen the video yet, or the YouTube version of this, Vaughn is 50, is in ridiculous shape. And what I always love to unpack on these podcasts is, what the fuck do you do to stay at the top of your game? Because it's so easy as we get into our 30s, 40s, 50s to lower standards. And that might be for multiple reasons and sometimes legitimate reasons in short bursts. But Vaughn, I want to unpack your story today and just basically break down what has built the mental toughness that you clearly have, the discipline, allowed you to come back from many setbacks, whether it's personal, professional, and keep moving forward and just build the reputation you have in your respective fields and just build the success you have, but without compromising the fact you're a fantastic dad. And I've seen that firsthand.
Tried to be.
No, listen, I know no one's perfect, and I know you'll certainly share that by the end of today's episode. But I just think there's a lot of people, mate, who let life circumstances, age, logistical changes get in the way of the man they'd like to be versus the man they actually are. So I know that anyone who stays to the end of this podcast will leave with multiple nuggets of what they need to do if they're not where they want to be physically, mentally, or emotionally, and just know they can do a lot more with their lives. So Vaughn Cohen, welcome to the Kirk Miller Podcast, mate. And
pleasure to be
here. Let's kick off. So for those who don't know you, Vaughn, right now, what you're doing? And
so at the moment, I'm currently living in Dubai, UAE. And obviously at the moment here, every summer I'm back and forth to Spain quite a lot. And in the summer, bring the family for the holidays. The company I'm working for is called Xpanel. And what we do basically is build houses with a modular system. So very quick explanation, it's 4 milli steel with EPS in the middle. These panels, like Lego, are put into place, spray concrete, and you have shell and core. So it's not a structure that can be moved. It's like a modular home where we imagine they're moving. It's an actual structure. This creates, in the present market that we're in, with limited manpower and all of the other problems with logistics, et cetera, this system allows us to build in half the time of traditional or precast aluminium tunnel form or breeze blocks and bricks. So half the time, no landfill, no heavy cranes required. And so the system itself, we now have a factory in the UAE, 2 opening up in Saudi Arabia, 11 opening in India. We have 1 in Spain here in Antequera, and we're about to open in the US market. So very busy time at the moment, work-wise.
So you got your hands full, to say the least.
Yes, got my hands full.
Yeah, and I'm right in saying as well, you've got other investments in different things.
Yeah, so I've been involved in real estate in Spain over the years. Still got some things, because I come back to Spain quite often just to check on that. Yeah. If you have any any real estate in Spain, it needs a lot of managing. How things work here, but yeah, I've actually been in Spain since 2006. Yeah. And I left around 2017, 18. Yeah. So quite a bit of experience here.
Yeah. And then family, you got three kids.
Yes.
Married.
Yeah. 1 older daughter who's 10, a little boy Axel who's 6, and Avi who's 3. Yeah.
And you're in ridiculous shape. So it's to give some context that you're doing okay in business. You got your hands full in business. You got the family. You're in shape, because it's important to add context to people listening, because as I said at the start, there's a lot of people who want the business success, want the health, want the family, and it's like, how can I juggle all these things? And you're a busy man in 50, and I've not seen many 50-year-olds keep their shit together the way you have. And I want to.
Well, I think like me and you have had discussions briefly, and being from the same areas, East Anglia. I'm from Northampton. You being from Coventry. My background, and I think mindset, as you know, and your business is backed around mindset. Okay, and the things that we do, we often feel as their second nature should come naturally to everybody, but they don't. And so it's difficult. Fortunately, we're in an age where information technology means that people can break down and understand these myths and what when we were growing up, you never knew what Roy Keane was really doing to prepare for a game, or this person or that. You just didn't know. So the fantastic thing that young people have today is they have a social platform where they can, if they really want to, they can study and find out exactly what makes these people tick, and what pushes them through. And so, like yourself, from a young age, I started in the gym at the age of 15.
And you're from Northampton?
Northampton, yeah. So you're from Coventry, I'm from Northampton, stone's throw away. Same kind of mentality.
So just before we get into the did you bring, was it an affluent?
No, so I was brought up by a single mother.
Okay.
And I was brought up with two of my brothers. I didn't know the others. The old Caribbean life story. But my mum's Irish. My father's Jamaican. I didn't actually meet my real father until I was 15. So it's it's a really funny little story. So my mum met my dad. They had a bit of a thing, but she was 14, 15. My dad was 18. They had a bit of a thing. They split up. She met my stepdad and fell pregnant. So she thought I was his.
Oh my God.
So she ends up marrying him and having two kids. My real dad goes off, doesn't know anything about me, and goes and has three kids of his own. So it wasn't until I was 17 that I'd actually met my real dad, because one day my mum came to me, I think I was 16, and she says to me, I've got something to tell you. And I went, yeah, what's that? And she went, I don't think Frank was my stepdad, but I always thought he was my dad. Another waster as well, whatever. And I said, what do you mean he's not my dad? She said, well, she explained the story. I met this guy, Horace. We didn't thingy, but he's actually a good guy. He looks after his family and all. The complete opposite to what I had. So it was funny. I went to a nightclub because he was running security in Northampton in a place called Bridge Street. And I went there, and his best friend, who's like my uncle, Eddie White, people will know him from the area. And I went, massive guy, 6'9", big. All you can see is his big teeth, black as the ace of spades. And I've gone up to him, and I said, do you know Horace Cohen? And he's gone, who are you? And I went, I'm Siobhan's son. I said, I think he might be my dad. And he looked at me, and he just started laughing. He said, come with me. So we've gone upstairs to the club. And I used to go to, it was called 40 Bridge Street. I used to go there. And when I was at that age, I was a football hooligan. So we used to go and fight in there every week. So we knew the security and everything. So I've walked up, and Eddie's gone, Horace, who's this? And he's gone to me, I don't know, he said, but I know, he said, I seen you a couple of weeks ago. And he said, someone walked over my grave. He said, I felt like, who's your family? And I said, well, my mum, Siobhan. I said, I think you might be my dad.
Oh my word.
And he just broke down, crying, and he grabbed me and all that kind of stuff. And so this was just before I joined the Marines. Was he in the same city? No,
town for the whole time.
No, so I was born in Northampton.
Yeah.
But my mum moved to Wellingborough because she thought I was, which is like 10 miles away, because she thought I was Frank's. So she married Frank. She was a Jehovah's Witness. That's another long story. Yeah. So she married Frank, and we were brought up, and he was good. He was with her for 7 years, and they got divorced. Yeah. I'll give him that. But my dad was in Northampton, and he had his own family and stuff like that. So we never crossed. But when I was about 14, my mum saw him, and she was like, oh my God, because of the resemblance is thingy. So she went to her sister and said to him, I've just seen Horace. And Vaughn's, because my other two brothers, they've got the same mum and dad, but they look different. One's really light-skinned, and one's a little bit darker. So with us mixed chats, you never know how we're going to come out. It's this, that, the other. So she had seen her sister, and her sister said, I wouldn't, you can't be sure. You can't really
Yeah.
You know, you have to be really sure. But she saw him again.
Okay.
And this time she said, I've got to tell him because it's really apparent. So anyway, but back to the question, my mum brought us up on her own. She was Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
The religion wasn't for me, but the point of it is they were good people and they had a structure.
Okay.
So from a young age, from the age of 4, I can remember, you know, discipline was very different when we were growing up. I knew the belt, the bamboo stick, this, the that, the other. They were very physical in their discipline.
Yeah.
And I would go to school every day. I can remember being 4 years old, and I had a teacher called Miss Pratt. Okay, work it out for yourself. And my mum and dad used to go up to the school every day, and if I misbehaved, I'd get beaten when I got home. But every day I would, because I was the only mixed race kid in the school. There was only, like, Northampton wasn't really that diverse in colour at that time. So I wasn't going to take anything from anybody. So do
you think you were forced into being like that because that was the only way to survive?
Well, yeah, because firstly, I was different because of the colour of my skin. And then I was different because I was Jehovah's Witness. So it was a double whammy. I'd be knocking on people's doors and I wouldn't be allowed to go out and play football and all that other kind of stuff. And so it was a case of I wasn't going to take any nors from anybody. So every day I'd be fighting at school. I can remember one day I was having a fight outside of the school and on top of this kid, giving it to him. And out the corner of my eye, I see my mum. Yeah. So I've let the kid flip me over and start hitting me because I thought, if I lose the fight, at least she's not going to beat me.
So you'd rather get beat by the boy than your mum by the belt.
Yeah. So that was my childhood growing up. My biggest regret, just to sum all that up, not regret, was Jehovah's Witnesses don't mix. They don't want their children mixing with other children. So they go to school, but outside of school, I was never allowed to play sport. So I was never allowed to go and play football for outside clubs and stuff like that. It wasn't until I was like 15 that I started to.
How did that affect you?
Well, I just love sport.
So how did that affect you if you weren't allowed to do that after school?
Well, it meant that maybe the biggest regret in my life is that I didn't go on and play professional sport, because I know, and my real father, he was really sport driven. Okay. So he felt a lot of guilt when he met me as well, because he knew that I would have gone and done something professionally in sport. And my younger brother, he went to Plymouth and
football.
Yeah, football in Torquay. But he was a Charlie Big Spuds. He was like Ferdinand. He could read he was like a Rolls Royce. You know, I'd be on the side like, you're not running and this, that, and the other. But he'd glide. You know, he was one of those. I was hard work rate. You know, we've got that engine. But the fact that I never got the opportunity to compete, you know, at a high level when I was younger, that's my only regret about my childhood. But my mum did her best, you know. So I look at the positive things that I took out of that. Being a Jehovah's Witness meant that I was talking in public to people, hundreds of people from a young age, giving Bible talks, knocking on people's doors, you know, who don't want you there. You know, could have been a great background for sales. You know, just giving you that confidence, and they study, they look after each other. So I look at the positives. And she was 15 when my mum had me.
That's meant. It's crazy when you think
about it. 1975,
God.
15 with a mixed race child. You know, I'd take my hat off to her. Unfortunately, she passed many years ago.
Yeah,
but, you know, we had a really good relationship.
What did you say you learnt most from your mum?
Grit.
Grit. And again, without being too intrusive, you don't have to answer this. But again, one of the things like you shared there is how can people learn from your experience in the way we would have probably loved to learn from the likes of Roy Keane. You said that your stepdad, who you didn't know was your stepdad, did you ever feel, looking back, that because he wasn't your biological dad, that there was something missing there?
No, but because he didn't know either.
Okay.
He didn't know.
Okay.
Nobody knew.
Okay.
In fact, he found out the same time as me. But he was just a shit dad. When they were married, he was a good dad. Okay. You know, he was there and all. But he went off and did his own thing. I think he's got about 20 odd kids, like other kids. Okay. He's just like one of those. Yeah. So, you know, I don't think that didn't affect our relationship, because he was a poor father to all of them. And when I say poor father, it's about time. So I explain this to people. I'm not your you get different. There's nobody can judge how a father relates to his children and what's a good job and what's a bad job. Well, there are some outcomes, obviously. But for me, I think it's about, this time that I spend with my children, I try to make it quality time. I might not have as much time as the next guy or this, that, and the other. And being like you're on it all the time. You're constantly in a business state and working out things and all that kind of stuff. I just try and make, like you, the time that I spend with them the best time I can. And that's it. Because nobody can say, you've got to spend this amount of time, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, it's this, it's that, it's the other. And every child's very different. My son doesn't react very well to, let's say, how maybe I would have been brought up. I don't agree with, we discipline him, but I don't use physical. Okay. What do they say? That we're the last generation to be beaten by our parents, but not beat our children. Get it? So that's my generation. So my wife is very open and being Dutch, and she likes to talk with him, and I've come alongside with that. So sometimes I raise my voice and stuff like that. It doesn't work with him, Okay. So different children, like you yourself, and different people react in different ways. So to be a good father for me is just to try and be there. And that's my definition of a poor father, because my stepfather, after he divorced my mum, he went missing. Okay. If I wanted to find him, he'd be down at the bookies, and he'd say, come and take you to play football on Saturday. And I'd give this to my mum. She knew he wouldn't turn up, and we'd be sat at the window, like watching him for hours to see if he'd come, just to take us to the park, and he wouldn't do it. But she never said anything bad about him.
Would you say, Vaughn, because I know we spoke about this off camera, about being very self-sufficient, independent. Would you say that because of that, him sometimes not being there, that from an early age, certainly in your teens, that you felt you had to sort of depend on yourself a lot more than the average kid?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. And then you mentioned there you were fighting lots at school, and you were. When did you get into football hooliganism? What age was that? And was that before the Marines or like what?
So at 15, I left home because
why?
Me and my mum, because basically my mum's rule for the house was that she followed the religion of being a Jehovah's Witness, and there were many things that clashed with her belief. So there's no sex before marriage, and this, that, and the other, and I just wanted to live a normal life, and I had respect for my mum. So it was her house, I can remember having my first job earning £60 a week at a lighting factory, and I'd give her £40 of that. Okay. And I felt good about that. Okay. Some people say, oh, you're paying a lot. My mum used to do my washing, clean,
She's raised you from the age of 15.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I want to do that?
Of course.
So for me, in that regard, I needed to go and do my own thing. So I left home at 15.
Where did you go?
I went, so I had an auntie that lived in Northampton. This is how I met my dad. But I had an auntie. My family were all in Northampton. Her sisters, her brothers and sisters. She's from Severn, an Irish family. Yeah. And I went and lived with one of my aunties, and I just went and found a job. And I migrated to an area called Far Cotton. Okay. And Far Cotton Mere Way, that's, everyone there was boxing and fighting. So that's where we kind of grifted into the football hooligans. Okay. Even though Northampton are a rubbish football team.
But I suppose that was your first, I don't know, you know how connection is a fundamental human need. Was that, it was a sense of belonging you were also trying to search for at that point?
Yeah, because, I mean, we can be loners and all those kind of things, but growing up, you still need to be part of a group. We're 100%. Pack animals, aren't we?
100%.
And that was a good pack. We'll come into that, but me going into the military also was surrounded by that, because one of the guys, his name was Scott Beasley. He was a professional boxer. He joined the Royal Marine Commandos. And for me, being around him, take away the negativity of the football hooligans and the fighting. Yeah. That's no good, obviously. But being around him, and I'd never thought about joining the military.
So he was a cue for that, really?
And he was like, wow, Green Beret.
Okay.
Hardest training in the Western world. Okay. Special Forces, I want to have a go at that.
Yeah.
So, like you say, everything, you can find a positive in every situation. Yeah. That's my mindset. Yeah. I've been in some very bad situations in my life. Yep. But I always remember the good parts, or I always try and focus on the positive.
What did it teach you, basically? Yeah, it's like you look at every situation. What is this teaching me, and where is it directing me moving forward?
Because there's a reason, right? There's a reason that these things don't happen just out of chance.
So you joined the Marines. How hard was it to get into the Marines?
Yeah, so I left home at 15. I got a job, and then I was 16. I went to the careers office, the Navy careers office, and they said, and I was fit. You know, I was playing football. I was boxing.
Yep.
I was fit, but I wasn't strong.
Mm-hmm.
Never. I'd done some weights at 15 for football. Mm-hmm. So I'd done squats, but never really did upper body and stuff like that. So they said, do 10 pull-ups, 3 pull-ups, whatever. Do 50 press-ups, sit-ups. It's called the USMC, US Marine Corps. They make you do that as a tester. So the guy said, go away and train. Come back in a year. Mm. And that's what I did. Mm. I used to drive. I used to run 8 kilometers every night. And I bought myself a Bergen from the Falklands War, 1982. Mm. So it had a metal frame on it. Mm. And I used to put bricks in that. And I'd go and run 8 kilometers every night. I was boxing. I was playing football. I was swimming. And then I started to do weights as well.
But so you took the knockback a lot differently to how a lot of other people had done the knockbacks. A lot of people had done those 3 pull-ups and then gone, fuck this, I'm not good enough, I'm not sure. So, but what was the driver at that point? What was if you can remember?
Because I knew that this is what we were talking about earlier about information and relating for young people to know what Roy Keane, as we use as an example, was doing. Scott Beasley, and he was a junior Marine, so he was the same. He joined at 16. So you're not even old enough to drive a car, but you're at war. He went to Iraq, the first war in Iraq. He had his Green Beret. I can get mine. There's nothing. I always look at it like this, and even in training. So we come to that. But even in training in the military, that it's for the Royal Marines. I was in 660 troop. There's a 86% fail rate. There were 64 of us started. Only 12 of us made it.
Yeah.
That guy next to me, I'm going to beat him.
Okay.
What can he do that I can't?
Okay.
And maybe he's faster. Maybe he's stronger in this, that, and the other. But overall, there's nothing mentally that I can't put myself through that he can.
So initially, when you had that knockback, was that your initial motivation? So it was more of a competitive thing.
It was great.
If he can, some people, like, there needs to be a bigger motive. But initially, that was your...
Yeah, because I want to be the best that I can be.
Okay.
So I didn't take that as a negative. I took that as, how could I walk off the street and become a Royal Marine Commando? That if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it, right?
Okay.
So the prestige of that Green Beret and the fact that I got knocked back there, come back, and great.
And when did you go back? And
I went back a year later.
Okay.
A bit less.
Yeah.
And they do something called a PRC, Potential Recruitment Course, which is a 3-day course where you go down to Lympstone, Commando Training Centre down in Exmouth, and they absolutely thrash the life out of you. They give you these old drill boots to run in, and you're all civilians, so you can imagine. And the wonderful thing about the Royal Marines is you get people from every background, every age, because it's like people want to know in their life, could I have done this? Can I get a Green Beret? We had guys who were successful with building companies. There was one guy in my troop that used to do the Isle of Man TT, on the motorbikes.
Yeah.
Nut job. It was great. Yeah. You had people from all walks of life testing themselves. So I went and did the 3-day recruitment course. Again, high failure rate. I made it.
Why do you think you made it?
Again, because of that mentality. There was nothing there that I couldn't do. And also...
How much of it, I mean, it's hard to put into percentage, but obviously there's an extreme physical demand. How much do you think to make it into, say, the Marines was based on physical and mental?
Well, I'd say the idea, because remember, this is only a recruitment test to get you in. So the reason why the Marines are so highly rated, and any other Tier 1 Special Forces group, is that you're doing the basic training for the Army is like 16 weeks, I think. Yep. And then you get... Royal Marines is a failure rate. Obviously, you can fail at any time. So it's 9 months basic training or 8.5 months basic training. So the physical side of it, if you've got the mentality, they can bring that up. Okay, if you're a complete mess, you're not going to make it past the 3-day. And remember, the 3-day, you're on a high because you've passed the recruitment test. You're only just getting in.
Okay.
You're starting at day 1. But again, as I said, it's just that mentality that there's something that I want to achieve, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to push myself. Because what human has been made or done it before me? What have they got? An extra arm, an extra leg? No, it's the mentality. So if they can do it, I knew that I'd say, like you asked me how much, I'd say 60 to 70% is mentality, and 30% is your physical attributes, because they can be brought up, just like dieting. You know, just like having a great physique. 70% of it, as you know, is nutrition. 30% maybe training.
But was there anything at an early age, either getting into the Marines or during that period from the Marines, that you did to prime your mindset, or said to yourself, whether it was before a hard task or before you were going out to a drill or a certain situation, that you did to prep your mindset? You know, right now, we spoke about it earlier, like when I'm about to do something hard now, I've got my little one in my head, I've got my little girl, and you even motivate me. You know, we trained together yesterday where I'm like, who's watching you? Like,
It's true.
16, 17, 18, you've got no one watching you, technically. Well, you ain't got a kid who's watching you, but
like you with the football, I knew that I was coming back to a shithole, excuse my French, and I wanted to be something, you know, because I saw Scott and people were proud of him. You know, people rated him because he was a Green Beret. How many people can you actually say, what's the percentage of people? And remember, the Royal Marines is 6,500 strong. It's a very small unit.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
See, the US Marines, who are not the same standard, but US Marines is 50 or 60,000 US Marines. That's larger than the British forces. We're only 6,500. So you imagine anybody that has that Green Beret or has done that training, it was a pride, and I wanted that, you know. So setting my mentality was, I want that Green Beret, and I'm going to do it. I want to be that person who comes back and someone says to me, "What do you do?" And I say, "I'm a Royal Marine Commando."
What drove you more, the motivation to have that status, have that significance, have that reputation, or the pain of going back to your life before?
Yeah, I think, as you know, the bleakness of the UK at that time, especially with opportunity, you left school, if you weren't academic, which I wasn't, I had the ability, but I just didn't like studying.
I get it.
So if you didn't do that, I think I'd started out doing an electrical course. So it was an apprenticeship, this, that, and the other. That to me was death. So even though we didn't have the opportunities that are there now, or the possibilities, I just knew that
life weren't for you.
I'm not going to be a plumber or electrician. No, I just can't. You know, I'd rather die trying to become a Royal Marine Commando than go back to my city as a failure, you know, or town as a failure, and live the rest of my life regretting or wondering, could I have done that?
So I think the lesson for that, for listeners, and then obviously this will, I'm sure, be a recurring theme across your story, is if someone really wants something or wants to follow through with something that they say they want, what you're getting at is there probably needs to be an equal consequence of what is the pain and impact on my life if I don't achieve that.
Of course, you've got to embrace that, because nothing grows in a comfort zone. And you know yourself that having a commitment like football, when you were young, you knew that that's what you wanted to do, and it would take heaven and high earth to stop you, right?
Yeah, it's just like I don't know what the percentages are in football. I mean, but
0.00.
Like the margins, it's the same with the Marines. Like the margins are so fine, and look, I made it as a professional, but I didn't quite make it to that next level from 20. But that even there's not many. The amount of people that got chopped even at 16 who were unbelievable footballers, but there's just those small differences. And I think the bar's probably been risen even more with modern technology and science and all this stuff. But just with the Marines, what did you learn most about leadership during that period that you feel has helped you?
Yeah, so people ask me about my time in the military. So I joined in 93, left in 99. And I explained to people that at that age, and with the possibilities that were there, I already had discipline in my life because of being brought up in a religious dogma kind of background. But I think even though I have shown signs of anarchism, almost, like bucking the system as I've got older. I still like discipline. I like discipline within things. So maybe that set me for, maybe those early experiences set me for life. Because if I look back on my life, it is about single thing that I've done has had discipline or structure within it.
Certainly when it's gone well.
Yeah. No, but even when it hasn't gone well.
Okay.
Even when things haven't gone well, you can still find structure. You still use discipline to make the best of every situation you're in. Yeah.
So how long were you in the Marines for, and what age did you leave? What happened then?
93 to 99.
Okay.
I was based, so my first deployment, I was at 4-2 Commando when I left.
What is that?
So there's 3 commando units, 40, 4-2, 4-5. 40 is in Taunton, 4-2 is Plymouth, and 4-5 is Arbroath. They guard the Trident submarines up in the north. So what happens is I went GD, which is general duties. So as a Marine, if you just scrape through, you'd end up being there's jobs for you like a clerk, a driver, a chef. You still need those people, and then everyone else you want to go and cut your teeth. So I went to a fighting unit, which was 4-2 Commando. I was in from 93 to 99, and my deployments were, I did Northern Ireland in 94, 95, just before the peace. The peace deal was done, and I was also in Bosnia. I was stationed on a Type 22 battle axe, it was called, Type 22 frigate, and we were up and down the Adriatic coast. We were aboard. It was 8 of us, and we were a boarding party. So we'd zoom down on the helicopters, fast rope in, or go by LC and take over ships, search them, because there was a lot of weapons and everything being smuggled in and smuggled out at that time. So they were my deployments. So 93 to 99.
Yeah. And then what happened? Why did you leave?
So the problem with the Marines and most military units of elite status is that you motivate a man to believe he can do anything. Okay. And you're training people at a high level, and then Royal Marines is dead man's boots. So if you want to get on a command course to become a lance corporal, sergeant, you're talking 8 to 10 years.
Okay.
And remember, exposure to the outside world has changed a lot, so whereas maybe 20 years ago when the guys were in, like at the time of the Falkland Islands and stuff like that, there wasn't so much a distraction, and there were more career soldiers, who did. But, earning the same money and living a life, and I was running the doors in Plymouth as well. Okay. So I had other revenue streams as well.
So that gave you a little bit of an insight to a different life.
Like, you pay me the same money. I've done 5 hard years or 6 years. Yeah. I'm not really moving. I'd applied to go SBS. I got injured. Right. And the problem was, as we spoke about the people you're around, I was sent to Stonehouse Barracks, which is HQ and SIGs in Plymouth. And it's surrounded by rap hands. And a rap hand is somebody who's leaving. So in the Marines, it used to be that you had to give 18 months notice. No, 2.5 years return of service. So you've got to give a notice, because what they basically say is, we've trained you at a high level, and it's cost us a lot of money. So you can't just leave. Okay. So you had to do a minimum of 4 years. Okay. So I was around all these guys that were up to no good, and they were leaving, and they wrap their hand. We'd say in the Marines, you wrap your tits in. You can't be bothered anymore. Yeah. You got guys. So it was just a case of that. I just felt there was more. I felt there was more for my talent. Yeah.
And then what happened then?
Well, I felt there was more for my talent, but I'm not sure that it was the best way forward. So I started to. I was involved in an importation conspiracy down in Plymouth, which I served my time for. We discussed. So we used to move cannabis from down in Bournemouth up to Plymouth. I used to use the military vehicles. So I put the chit in the front, being a Land Rover. I'd go down there, pick them up, bring it back. I don't condone that kind of behaviour anymore. And so I did use my military skills, as the judge told me when he convicted me. It was abuse of power and talent. So so I moved into other things. And unfortunately, when guys leave the military, a lot of guys become institutionalized. So they either go police, fire brigade, or sometimes they can, because doing a normal job is very difficult for us. Yeah. As I said, trained to that thing, ready for action. So it can be quite difficult. I was offered, I didn't tell you about this, but I was approached about, I don't know if they call them MI5 or 6, about working in urban areas in London. Okay. As undercover operative and da-di-da-di-da, but that wasn't for me. Yeah.
So, what age did you come out, and how did that shape you inside? What did you learn?
Well, I was 24, and like I say to people, I skipped that out. When people ask me about the military, I say, what a great time. I was 16 years old. Yeah. I didn't know anything. I would have stayed in Northampton, as we said, being a plumber or some kind of... and nothing wrong with being a plumber or an electrician. It just wasn't for me. Yeah, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody who does that job. Highly paid now. And, so I say to people, I had a great time. Travelled the world. Killed people for Tony Blair. Only a joke. And just experience. And the people I was around, like older guys, and just the experience in life and the crack. Yeah. I could tell you 100 funny stories of, about guys getting their eyebrows shaved off, and it was just a great time, So, and I never had any military, like when I joined, they put a gun in my hand and I was on the shooting range. I thought, because remember, I was only focused on that fitness, the challenge. Yeah. So when I sort of like got down to brass tacks, I thought, ooh, this is kind of strange, because that wasn't my, a lot of people are motivated by weapons, fighting, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't really my motivation, but like I said, what a fantastic time, what an experience. And sorry to interrupt you, but today, is it such a bad thing for the fabric of society, for people or young people to learn discipline? No,
people need that more than ever.
In the 1950s, we got rid of national service. I don't agree with going off and fighting. Yeah. But there's countries like Austria, etc., where you have to go and do a year or 2 years. In the UAE they do it as well, and they have to go and train over 2 years, but they're back and forth. But it gives you discipline, a grounding, an understanding. I
couldn't agree more. Listen, I'm friends with people who've been in the military, and I've coached people who've had military experience and sport experience, and the difference in mindset and application when you give that person structure with health and fitness, for example, is night and day. Yeah. But from that first stint in prison, obviously you didn't break, you recalibrated. Like, what was the next move from there, and what did that teach you?
So prison was again, I found structure in there. It's a big waste of time, and as I said, I wish I'd had another outlet for my skill base and talent. But I don't want to use excuses, because there's lots of people who have come out of the military and not gone that way. So I don't make any bones about it. But I found structure within that system. Again, where's the difference between religious? They're all structures: religious, military, incarceration. So when I left, I moved to Bristol. I was just doing security work, just getting by, and always training. Even inside, I'd do circuits, I'd go to the gym. There's that facility in there. Again, sport orientated, and you get the screws in there that are the physical instructors, who are just like the ones in the military. Yeah, and obviously they can see that you're obviously you can't keep your nutrition up and all that kind of thing to a high standard, but they can see you committed. Yeah, and they'd have rugby teams, and I played a bit of volleyball, rugby, football. So it kept my mind.
So kept you sane. So then you were in Bristol, and then what happened? Because obviously how long after that did you move to Marbella? Like what happened?
Yeah, so I moved to Bristol 2003. And then got into trouble again in 2006. Yeah. But that was in Spain. Yeah. And so I came to Spain. I got into the same kind of trouble with an importation, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And I ended up doing 6 months inside. Yeah. In Alarin de la Torre. Yeah. Which is here. And then I was I got out on bail, and I was on bail for like 6 or 7 years. It's a very strange system here in Spain, where you're waiting that long to come. Which is
I know they do things slow motion here, but that's fucking insane, to put it bluntly.
It's backward. So, and that was quite difficult because you can't really plan and move forward with your life.
Yeah.
But I started to do secure. So I explained the story to you. I came out of the prison. I got on a bus to Fengarola.
And you had fuck all at that
nothing.
point? You had not a pot to piss in?
No. One of my friends was living here, so I could stay with him. So I didn't have anything. I went to Fengarola, bought myself a pair of trousers and shoes. Yeah. I went to Porto Banús, found a job.
Literally. Explain the story, because I found it mental.
Yeah, so I walked around all of the nightclubs.
Yeah. The reason I'm sharing that is, obviously, for anyone who knows Vaughn, but as you'll come forward to, like what you built from a business from that point, the reason I want you to share that is people would look at the success you had when you ran that business and go, Vaughn, Jesus, like
correct.
The money, the status, controlling the whole of security pretty much in Marbella. But fucking how it started certainly wasn't that.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I think is really important, the security business, I approached it, I wasn't the biggest guy or the hardest guy or any like that, but it's about communication and dealing with people. So I'd always treat people with respect. I'd always be polite, use the manners and that I was given from being a Jehovah's Witness, how to communicate with people, which was very important, and from my mum. And I could talk people down, from situations. Yeah, sure, I could have it, I could get in amongst it, no problem. Yeah. But and people also had that respect knowing that you've been in the military. Yeah. So you're not fazed with combat or, sticky situations.
You can control your temperament as well. Yeah.
It's all, it's all about how you behave and act in those situations. And so I'd also like to say, so moving on from that, running the security here in Marbella, I had really good people behind me. So that evening that I was walking around, I went to lots of clubs and they said, no, like the security.
So you had a lot of knockbacks. And the reason I want to share that is, again, people, they see success sometimes and they just don't understand the amount of failure or rejection that you've had, that most people give up because they get that one first rejection, second rejection.
Of course.
You had multiple knockbacks that people are totally unaware of.
Go here, go there, go here. So in the end, I went to the main club, which was Pangaea. Yeah. And I knew there was a guy there.
I've had some fucking fantastic parties there.
Yeah. It was fantastic. There used to be a queue. I used to explain to people, there'd be a queue from Pangaea all the way past Papadella, 20, 30 people. We used to go down the line, like the classic, and go, no, not you. You're too fat. You're this, you're that, you're the other.
You terrible. Bastard.
It's
fucking terrible.
It's not political. No, but it was always fair. But it was a great time. And there was a guy running the place called Kian.
Yep.
And I'd known him as a legend from many years ago. He fought when I was running the door in Plymouth. When I was working with a guy called Martin Kenny, and he ran the place. And he'd had a fight. His nose was squashed across his face, and he used to call me Lofty. And I used to say, "How'd you get that?" He said, "Well, Lofty, I had a fight with this guy called Kian." He said, "Big." When you see Kian, he's a big Iranian guy. The hands and the neck looks like that wrestler. And he, at the age of 15, he was running Bath, the whole of Bath and Bristol. Some serious people there. But he's 15 years old, driving around in a Rolls Royce. He went to Millfield School, all that kind of thing. His dad was a predominant engineer in Iran, very famous when the Shah was there. So anyway, I went up there and I said to him, I went to the door and they said they didn't have any work. And I said, "Is Kian here?" Well, why? Why do you want to see him? And I said, I think we've got mutual friends. I'd like to speak to him. So he came down and I said, he's very polite as well. He's well brought up and all the rest of it. And I said, "Nice to meet you. My name's Vaughn." I said, a friend of mine, you broke his nose many, many years ago. Martin Kenny. He went, "Yeah, that was a good fight, that is." He said he pulled a gun out on him and he'd snapped it out of his hand and headbutted him and all the rest of it. And I said, "Look, I'm down on my luck. I've just come out being totally front with you. I need a job." Yeah. He went, "Can you start tonight?" I said, "Yeah." And so from there. Yeah.
And what was that? What was your first starting role? Like
just security.
Just literally on the door?
Yeah, just on the door. Okay. And obviously within a very short period of time, I'm very you assess the situation. I was very humble, work with the guys, make sure I'm always there. I soon rose to the top from there.
Why do you think that was? Because there would have been other people that have been on the doors that didn't do that. Why do you think
intelligence,
that was?
mindset, understanding.
When you say about mindset, what does mindset mean? What?
Again, that grit.
Okay.
There's nothing that guy can do that I can't.
Okay.
And even I'd always play a competition with myself in everything. I'm always playing a game. Can I do better? Can I not in a negative way? Like I'm not jealous of people. I think success for other people is fantastic. I want to shine someone's car. I don't want to scratch it. I think, well done to you. And what you said is really important. That journey, I don't look at the success. I think to myself, I wonder how he got there.
So it's not bitter. It's going, what does he do?
It's like you. When I talk to people who know about you and your journey, they say, mate, he's a grafter.
Yeah, it's relentless.
He gets in it. So you do the same. It's just how you mentally, how you portion that in your brain to be active and for it to be positive for you to reach what you need to do. So obviously we didn't need security in there because he's an absolute loon. I can remember the first time there was a fight. There's a guy walking. They got all these big lumps from England. I think they were from Sheffield. Got them outside. Right, we're all ready to rock and roll. And Kian punches himself in the face. Full, punches himself in the face. And he's walking towards this fellow, and he said to he's like 7, 8 of security, we're all big lumps, all capable. And he's gone, stay behind me. And he's punched himself in the face, full on, mouth bleeding.
Why?
He's just a loon, mate. And punched himself again. He's going to the kid, come on then. And the guy's going, yeah. And he's just backing off. In the end, he just ran off. Like, how are you going to fight somebody
who's just done that damage to himself in the face?
I used to eat champagne glasses, smash bottles on his head. He drove his Hummer into a club one night and took the safe out and stuff like that. You get him on this podcast, mate, you need 3 hours. So I worked for him, and my routine was this. I would start. And I also got a job at Ocean Club. I went to Ocean Club one day. This was before they were the new owners. There was no security. Okay. So one guy saw me, the owner then, and he said, would you do security? So I'll be on my own. Champagne parties. Just me. So I would do so I'd go to Ocean Club at 1:00. So my routine was for 3 or 4 summers, 1:00 Ocean Club. Yeah. I'd finish around 5, 6 o'clock. I'd go home and sleep. I'd start Pangaea at 8. I'd finish at 4. I'd wake up at 10. I'd go to the gym, and then I'd start again.
Fucking hell.
And I did that for 3 or 4 years. And the reason I say that is because when I get guys complaining and moaning, and I'd say to them, I used to do this. I'd stand on my feet for 14, 16 hours a day. We have a season. And you train. And I trained.
And you know what I mean?
So we have a season here is very seasonal. So the summertime, you work from May till September. Yeah. There's nothing going on in the winter. Yeah. So that's why I'd always say to the guys, don't tell me about you're tired, because I've done this. I like to lead by example.
And how did that, just to wrap up the security thing, what did that grow to give people context?
It grew to around 120 guys working. And we set up it was quite funny because the police didn't want to give us a proper license. We had to do, we had an office in San Pedro. We did everything properly. So set up a proper security company. You needed to have 200,000 as a 250 as a bond. Yeah. We had to have seismic alarms in the office and stuff like that, because you were allowed to have weapons and stuff like that. So in the end, I was running all the security here, Olivia's, Punta Romano, everywhere. And we were doing private work, and we were going to go off into alarms and things and all that kind of stuff there. But then COVID hit.
Okay. Yeah. What was the biggest challenge during that period? Growing from literally you walk into Pangaea to then growing that absolute giant where you're pretty much controlling the whole of security in the major venues in...
Relationships. Relationships. Okay. Because there were a lot of, everybody's heard the stories about Marbella and stuff like that, and it's true. And there's lots of...
What gives, for people who aren't quite aware of this, what do you mean?
Well, I don't want to glorify... This isn't that kind of podcast. There's lots of people
I get it. But
about that. Yeah. But there were lots of different groups here operating, doing whatever they were doing. Yeah. And I had the respect that I could go and sit with any of them, with my partner at the time. So and that was about respect, because these guys are heavy guys. So, and I'd always say, look, you're always welcome in my place, but as soon as you kick off, you're not coming back. And we banned people from certain places, and it was hairy,
I get it.
But you have to stick by something. You have to have a rule about something. And also I'd manage, so if I knew this group and that group were in there and they didn't get on, I'd make sure one was at the other end of the club, one was here. I'd speak to them both. So they knew that they'd be there, and I'd say, look, these guys are here, you're going to be there. Sometimes they say, Vaughn, we're not even going to bother, we'll just go somewhere else. But I'd give them that, and I'd always make sure I'd put security around them, make them feel special.
Okay.
Because I say, look, I'm going to keep some lads with you. Not that you need them, but I just don't want anybody harassing you. And I built relationships, and that's the secret to running that kind of business. Not being the hardest, toughest guy, this, that, and the other. That wasn't me. But I had good relationships with people. I was polite. I treated them with respect. I built up relationships, and I was reliable, and I had that discipline. If I needed 30 guys working, they knew I'd be on time. They knew I'd be like a Marine. I'd be 10 minutes early. If I couldn't find somebody, I'd do the shift myself. I didn't care.
So, I mean, a great lesson for a lot of business owners listening to this, because some people may be more intrigued about your story of business, or how is you were reliable, you were disciplined, and you knew how to maintain relationships.
Yeah. And
you weren't scared to get your hands dirty, that if you've got a team member off, you would...
Yeah, I'm not special.
Okay.
In that way, like I see a guy working, I'd in Ocean Club, I'd go and relieve guys so they could go and eat. Some days we'd have 40 security on those. You remember those champagne parties?
Yeah.
And so I'd go around and stand in the positions of guys so they could, we'd have more time and they could go and eat and stuff like that. So, I just think it's really important to remember where you're from and what you come with.
Never get ahead of yourself.
No, you come with nothing and you're leaving with nothing.
Yeah. So, then it was COVID, and then was that your cue? Then I've done enough in that.
Yeah. And then I moved to Switzerland. I lived in Geneva.
Yeah.
I was coming back and forth to Spain, but I moved to Geneva.
Yeah.
Was involved in a car company there. Not really that interesting. But I managed to move back and forth. And then eventually, after that, I managed to get into the real estate in Spain and in UAE, because the guy set up the company for the modular X panel there. Yeah. And I moved my family to the UAE, which is where I'm very happy.
Yeah. So I know I'm conscious of your time, Vaughn, as well, but speaking specifically about health and fitness and routine, obviously you've mentioned multiple times that's been a large part of your life. Again, just to come back to what I said at the start, there's not many 50-year-olds that look the way you do, but I know you don't. We spoke about this earlier, didn't we, in the gym? As you get older, yes, how you look is important, but there's a lot more pieces of the puzzle that become more valuable when it comes to your health, your shape, your fitness. And
Absolutely.
We've both got kids now that you want to live longer. There's one thing knowing that. There's another thing having consistent structure and discipline to execute that. You've never been out of shape. Why do you feel that has mattered so much to you?
It's mattered so much. There's a saying somebody intelligently told me about. It's called Zeitgeist, and it's about time. So, for example, in the 90s, you lived through the 90s, but you didn't understand them until you come out of them. So 2000s, you can look back on those times and understand what they mean. Okay. And so for me, maybe I haven't really, we discussed this, that the routine that I've always been in is just what I do. It's what I don't, and I say to people, not everybody loves going to the gym and training and all those kind of things. They don't. And years ago, my mindset would be, hey, you don't do this. But now I understand. Go and walk. Go and play paddle. Don't, I'd turn my nose up at those things. But really,
I totally agree. I'd be so ignorant to that stuff before. But if that's something more than what someone's already doing, it's a massive win.
Benefit.
Yeah.
So I believe that subconsciously I've been training for. So I always say I'm 50 now, and people say, "What?" I showed you. I just did a recent diet and a cut and a.
You're 50 if you wanted to.
Yeah, I wanted. Yeah. That was my midlife crisis. Didn't buy a Ferrari and buy a white hat and get a young girlfriend and cause myself a load of trouble. I just did a photo shoot, and the diet was just as bad, to be honest. But I say to people, I believe I'm training for my 60s now. So I'm 50. I'm training for my 60s, because what have I got left? 25, 30 years. you know, and when you say it like that, it sounds a bit grim, but it's not. It's the truth. It's the reality. You know, nobody knows their day. I just want someone I look up to many years ago said to me, training doesn't put years on your life, but it puts life in your years. And so, as you said, now I'm a father. Now and this is really important. Don't think that when you get to 50 that it doesn't matter how you look, it's all plain sailing. Me and my friend who's 60, who I showed you in the gym the other day, you know, we're laughing because we get up in the morning, elbow, knee, shoulder. It's like those old diesel engines where you're waiting for the coil light to come on. You know, okay, when I'm get going, I'm great, but it's difficult. Yeah. And that's the Zeitgeist thing. You don't understand those things until you're out of that time. And your body I realize that I've got a certain amount of energy every day. I'm not the greatest sleeper. So I'll do 5-6 hours. Yeah. I've tried everything, and I you know, something I need to try and work on more, but that's my thing. But I realize if I wake up at 5-6 in the morning and I'm active, you know, my brain's going at 6 o'clock at night, I should be tired. And I used to sit there and say to myself, well, I don't understand it. Why am I? But I've done my 12, 14 hours in the day anyway. So I feel it's all about being active, getting the most out of the years that you've got left on this planet, and being healthy, because, you know, it's a cliche, but you can have all the money, all the success in the world. If you're sick, if you're out of shape, if you're not enjoying your life, if you're not healthy, if you can't move, if you can't run with your kid, even if it's only for a little short sprint, if you can't pick him up and throw him in the air, and after you're holding your forearms because you're tendonitis, but if you can't do those things, what have you got? What have you got? And I feel that's what discipline through my life has taught me, that, and maybe subconsciously that's prepared me, because it's just a mindset. And we spoke about this. What have I got to share with other people? I don't feel that anything I do is special, but you explained to me, these are skill sets and things that we've built up over a year through repetition, you know, and people look at the end result and say, oh, he's in great shape, but what does he take? What does he eat? What does he do? And I say to people, how long have you been training? Because everyone today wants a quick fix, don't they? Yeah. I say, I've been training for 35 years. And all the mistakes I've made, all of the things that I've done are the sum total of the person and the physique or the health or the life that I live now. That's where I feel that being at this age and understanding has brought me.
What's the single most important thing that keeps you that consistent? Is there something granular that you do on a weekly basis, as in plan your week, plan your calendar, just to execute on those things that have become the norm? What is the single?
Yeah, so very quickly, I would say we are, as a human being, you're always constantly tricking yourself. So if I write notes, I say to myself, I don't need to write notes. Yeah, I don't need that, but I do need that. I need little prompts, and those silly little things that you think are not important, that are the way that we focus on goals and what needs to be done. So in your life, whatever it takes, I feel this is really important. If I have a bad day eating, or I don't stick to my diet, or I wouldn't say I miss training too often, but sometimes I should take a day off when I should, you know, when I train when I should take a day off. Do you know what? I always tell myself, you're a human. Tomorrow you can reset and start again. There's another start point if you want to take that. So, okay, it wasn't great today, but I don't let that negativity sit in my head, or because we know the body keeps count, right, psychologically. So you can start telling yourself, oh, this, and then it's a slippery slope down the hill. So every day, if I haven't done my best, which I will try to do, I can say tomorrow I can start again. Yeah. That's it. It's never too late to start. Never too late to do something. Yeah.
And what I love about that, it ties in with, don't have turn one day into it. One day where you weren't on it or as perfect into Correct. 2. Don't have 2 shit days on the bounce, Correct. For example. I've got some quick fire questions, mate, just to wrap us up, if that's okay, mate. So I just want you to say whatever comes to mind off the cuff. What would you say to a man listening right now who's drifting, doubting, falling short of the standards he knows he should live with or wants to live with, whether it comes to his health, fitness, mindset? What would you say to that man right now who keeps saying they want X but they're not doing Y?
Just the easiest person to lie to is yourself. just be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Let the ego go and start from that point. You know, forget about what you told yourself yesterday and all that kind of stuff. Start from here. Be honest with yourself. Start that day there. And even if it's a small, there's a guy who talks about percentages. If you write a list of the things that you do in a day, and it's 1%, 2%, 3% extra, I can't remember the guy's name, then over a year, that's 300% better than you performed the year before. Yeah. Small steps.
And how do you want to be remembered?
As a good dad.
Emphatic answer. Emphatic answer. And just last question, mate. You've achieved so much in business. I mean, you'll probably write a book one day, or you should do with some of the mad shit that you've got.
I'm not sure about business, so I'll write a
book. But what's the mission moving forward?
Again, the same thing, to provide the best life I can for my family, and the time that I'm here, that I have left, to be healthy, fit, and pass on some of that knowledge to my children. So already my little boy, he's 6 years old. This is just, children learn best from example. He's already conscious of, is that healthy? And I've got a sweet tooth. He'll ignore chocolate. I can't, but he's like, he's evaluating, is that healthy for me? Then I don't want it. I've ate my broccoli. I've eaten my chicken. Chicken makes me strong because it's protein. So those are those small little things to pass on to your children. That's how I want to be remembered. Amazing, Vaughn. Where can people find you, mate? If they want to check you out. I know you're in the process of building I'm in the process. I'm in the process of setting up a community, and there's lots of people out there. Like your business is fantastic. And I don't think that I have, sorry, that's not the right thing to say. I'd like to offer something in the space to what other people are doing anyway. I don't think I love everybody in the space who's doing something positive for the right reasons. And I think there's no competition. We can all add something, and so my aim over the next 6 months, and you've been a great help with this, is to build something where I can hopefully offer some grounding advice, or open up to people and show, how do I train? How do I achieve this? How do I do that? Just decoding a few things that I hope will help other people. That would be a great legacy, right?
100%. Making a difference, mate. There's one thing achieving certain things and being able to buy and do certain things, but there's an even bigger thing. If you can make a difference on not just your family, but to people who were stuck, and you've got a solution for those people who were stuck, then there's nothing.
Sometimes I do. I have conversations with people and they're like, you should do that for a living, or you should. I was telling off some people in my friend's company, you should do motivational speech. I don't know about all that, but just to be able to give people a little bit of knowledge from what you've experienced is very rewarding. I'm
sure after people listen to this, Vaughn, they can definitely know there's integrity and authenticity with what you said. And mate, thank you so much. And
thank you.
Please check him out. Vaughn's a legend. The man's a beast as well. He kicked my ass in the gym this morning. And I'll see you next time.